Hello, this is TurboDog702 with the Castlevania Symphony of the Night Any Percent tutorial. I figure one of the main things that I should cover inside of this are some of the basic mechanics and intermediate mechanics that you will have to master as Alucard and as Richter in order to do this run effectively, and some extra things if you wish to branch off into different categories. For this section, I will be covering basic mechanics for Alucard. We will try to focus on backdashing, shielding, shield dashing, buffalo star dashing, the assortment of Alucard's spells, use of his familiar spells, and some of how the fairy works, item spells, such as the ability to use the shield rod and normal weapon spells, and other basic tech. So if I go into the game, right now I am currently sitting inside of a part of the game, which gives me plenty of room in order to show off some of this tech. You could easily do this anywhere inside of the castle, but I figured that a nice wide open area would be a nice place to start to be able to get an idea of how everything works. Alright, so some of the basic mechanics that you'll know right off the bat when you gain control of Alucard is that he can obviously jump. You'll notice that his jump, if you hold onto the button, it kind of is a lot more floaty than if you just let go of it. It kind of drops a little bit. You can also modify how far he can jump up and down. Pretty basic stuff for any platforming game. If you press the triangle button, or on the Xbox controller, I believe it is the Y button, you'll notice that Alucard can do a backdash. This was originally implemented in the game, most likely as a mechanism in order to dodge, but it was quickly found that this was a faster way in order to move from one point of an area to another. You'll notice that Alucard moves very, very slowly if you just run in one direction with him. However, he can cover room much, much, much more rapidly if you just chain backdashes together. Now, a big portion of this also is that you don't necessarily backdash when you actually see people speedrunning in this game, but this is the first tech that should be brought to your attention. What should be noticed is that the dash can be cancelled by a variety of things, including weapon attacks, jumps, and crouching. Because of this, it stops Alucard immediately upon pressing these buttons. Something that was noted, however, is that if you flick out your shield, or a shield, or certain other items when you backdash, you continue to backdash until you stop. It was also noted that you could cancel the shield at any point in it with another backdash afterward. You'll also notice that the shield has many frames of animation to it, and you can actually cancel the animation on the shield so that you don't need to bring it fully out. This is an important component of the shield dashing. In order to shield dash, which is the main barrier that many people do in order to getting good times in this game, and the main speed tech, all you need to do is alternate between pressing the backdash button and the shield button, and just tapping the shield button so you can barely see it flick out is the most efficient way to do it. That way you turn your backdashing from this into something that looks more similar to this. You'll notice that it is a significant increase in speed even when you're doing it completely suboptimally. There are some tutorial videos, including ROM Scouts, which is an excellent source in order to find out the two most popular ways of shield dashing, which are ROM Scouts and Satorius, who was a previous Soten runner and is still highly respected among the community. And ROM Scout is currently the world record holder as of this video and for a long time before that. Using different methods, you can try to find the one that gives you the least fatigue during runs and produces the fastest results. And in the case of me, I use two different methods of shield dashing, one for when I'm starting to get fatigued and one for when I'm looking for speed. After a while, you can start to get shield dashing that looks significantly faster than what I was showing before, such as you'll notice that at some points I was hiccuping in my ability to do my shield dashing. This can happen if you are unpracticed in your certain method, but you should continue to try and strive to get faster times in order to increase your shield dashing speed. One way that I would suggest for people very, very new to the route in order to just begin learning to shield dash is to merely is to merely take your middle and index finger, place them on your dash and shield button, and merely alternate between the two. This will give you a general idea of how quickly you can be moving at a given time. It will get you a feeling for the timing of it. And you can easily transition this into learning how to shield dash using Satoriu's or ROM Scout's method very, very quickly. The idea is merely to introduce you to the concept and to get you to start shield dashing. Now if I get back to the game. That's all I will be covering on shield dashing specifically with this tutorial, but as I mentioned, ROM Scout has an excellent tutorial on it on his previous Soten tutorial, and I suggest you check that out if you would want more information on that. Another thing to note is I mentioned that other items can also be used to do a concept similar to shield dashing. The most important of which, for this run in particular, is known as the Buffalo Star, which we will use inside of the run in conjunction with the duplicator. You'll notice that the Buffalo Star is very fast, and it actually allows you to do something similar to the shield dash as well. It is slower than the shield dash because it does have a longer animation, I believe, and you can only have 3 stars on the screen at a given time, but it is still a decent item to be using. You'll have to forgive me, I didn't notice that my music was not recording. But it does allow you to move from place to place rapidly and is a valid form of movement, but not as fast as shield dashing, as I mentioned before. So if you get good at that, and getting good at shield dashing is important to the run. Yeah, so many different forms of that. Alright, so now I'm going to move on to the spells portion of this. Spells is something that has lost a lot of its use inside of the run, but I will cover them right now, just so that you are aware of some of their uses and what they do and how to do them. The first of which is called Summon Spirit. It is done by pressing, if you are facing to the right as I am, it is left, right, up, down, and then attack. So altogether, it would be left, right, up, down, attack. And you'll get 1 spirit to come out. Another one of them is called Dark Metamorphosis, which I believe... Yes. It is back, and then roll your finger to up, and then to forward, and then attack. So it's a half circle from back to up to forward, and then attack. The next one is called Hellfire, which has 2 different versions. It is down, and then a fireball motion for fighting games, which is known as up, and then a quarter circle forward, starting from down. So up, down, diagonal down forward, forward, and attack. And all together, it'll give you an ability that does that. During the flash, you're able to teleport a certain distance, as you can see, and Alucard shoots 3 fireballs. There is an alternate version of this spell if you do hold up while you are teleporting. And it will do those. The difference between those is the 3 fireballs will destroy themselves upon impact with an enemy. The large black balls will not. The next spell that I will cover is called the Tetra Spirit, which is the first thing that's a kind of an advanced spell, and it is one of the spells that is commonly used in different routes. In order to do it, you merely hold up for a total of 33 frames, so about half a second, but you could push it out to a second or more if you so desired. And after that, you're rolling your thumb from up to forward, all the way to down, and then pressing attack. So it's hold up, roll your finger to down, and attack. And you'll get 4 spirits. The last spell that I'm going to cover inside Alucard form is known as Soul Steal. It's going to be kind of hard to show in here, but I can use the 2 candles here in order to show it off. In order to do Soul Steal, you need to do back, forward, and then roll your finger to down and back again, and then forward again and attack. So it's back, forward, roll, forward again, and attack. And it'll look something like this. You'll notice that the 2 candles blew up and got destroyed. That will damage all the enemies on screen, and each of those little globes will come back and heal you for 8 points of damage, and it'll do that to objects as well. As for some of the other things that you can get, when you get access to the leap stone inside of the game, you'll be able to double jump by pressing X twice. You will also gain access to a dive kick when you have the leap stone, which you can do by pressing X twice and then pressing down or a diagonal of down and jump again. So you can either do that or you can do a forward version of it. This can be done very close to the ground. You also, when you get access to the gravity boots, you'll be able to cast another spell, which is down, up, jump. This allows you to gain height very, very rapidly and can be chained together after it has completed its motion. It also allows you to be invincible while you are doing it. It should be noted that many spells, almost all of them, provide you with a good degree of invincibility with which to do things with. Other things of note include the Shield Rod, which has its own set of spells. One of the most important of which is by pressing the shield button and the attack button at the same time, you will cast a certain spell depending on what the shield is that you have equipped. I will equip a couple of different shields just so that you get an idea of what this type of thing looks like. First, the Medusa shield, which fires lasers, which do a lot of damage, and the Iron shield, which makes swords, which can attack and do lots of damage. The other ability that the Shield Rod has access to is if you press back forward and attack, you will fire out this little thing. This is more of a nod, an Easter egg to another Konami game known as Gradius. It does no attacks, but apparently it blocks projectiles. Most other weapon spells are done one of 2 ways. Most of them are done by doing a quarter circle from down to forward and attack, although some of them are done by going back, forward, attack. And that's not a half circle motion, that's just back forward, as I did with the Shield Rod in order to fire the gear. Other abilities that you should be aware of. Once you gain access to certain relics, you'll be able to turn into a bat, a wolf, or a cloud of mist. Okay. If you are in the bat form, you can do the Wing Smash spell, which is a very important spell in order to progress through this game at a high level of speedrunning, or even at a reasonable level of speedrunning. In order to do this, if you are facing right, you will hold down the X button. When you hold down the X button or the jump button, you'll notice that even if you move around on the controller, it will lock you in place. This is a good way to tell that you have it depressed, and this is when you can begin starting the motion. The general motion is to start from up and do 3/4 of a circle that ends in forward, and then release jump. So in other words, I would hold X, hold up, or press up, roll my finger from up to back, from back to down, and down to forward, and then release the X button. When you do the spell, it should look like this. Okay. You will notice that at the completion of this, Alucard detransforms and falls to the ground. This is an important aspect when we go into the intermediate tactics known as infinite wing smashing. But for now, this is what we will cover in the scope of the video. In wolf form, you have access to 2 spells when you gain access to 2 different wealth relics. One of which is by pressing down and doing a quarter circle to forward, so rolling your finger from down to forward and then attack, you can do what's known as the wolf charge. When you wolf charge, you see that you move exceedingly fast, and you will damage enemies as you move through them, and you will be invincible as you do so. You can also dash normally with the wolf, even just having the normal wolf relic by pressing or tapping forward twice in quick succession and holding the second time. This allows you to move quickly as the wolf. When you gain access to a certain relic, you will be able to do a dash that quickly turns into the wolf charge move that allows you to deal damage to enemies and speed you up. You notice that I start taking the animation for the wolf charge spell when I do so. And it acts pretty much exactly the same. Another thing that we will cover is two of the main familiar spells inside, or one of the familiar spells, and one of the functions of the familiars. So I will go to my relics, turn on my sword card, and my sword familiar will come up. This is less important to the route, but I figured for the sake of completion I should do it. Okay, so let me verify the spell real quick. Okay, in order to do this, you need to press down, roll your finger from down to forward to up, hold up momentarily, and then press down and attack. And it should look like this when you do it. Whoops. Let me go ahead and check that again. Alright. So I'm just doing it poorly. You can tell that I don't really do this that often. Yeah.
Gather, brother soul blades!
That trick is important if you're trying to do an older route of this game, but it's not so much important anymore. So again, it's from down to forward to up, hold up momentarily, press down, and then attack. One of the other things is you have access to what's known as the fairy card. The fairy doesn't have any overt spell uses, but I figured I should cover it. The fairy will try to use items inside of your inventory when they become beneficial in the game's opinion to use. If you become low on health, she will attempt to use certain potions. If you get poisoned, she will try to use anti-venom. If you get cursed, she will try to use uncurse and so forth. If you have access to life apples, she will use life apples on you when you die in order to resurrect you. That should be it for all of the spells that are pretty much necessary. However, I would like to do a slight addendum. I've noticed that a lot of people have issues doing the spells. I think that this is mostly due to the fact that most people who try this have a background in fighting games. In many fighting games, if you want to do a fireball motion, the down, rolling your finger to forward motion, or quarter circle forward, they find that doing quarter circle forward and pressing the forward and attack at the same time does not work. While this can work, it is usually much more consistent in my opinion, and every one of the dozen people that I've taught this game, or at least certain portions of it, they find it easier to actually hesitate before they do the attack button. So instead of doing a fireball and pressing forward and attack at the same time, you would do the motion, hesitate for a split second, and then attack. So it's down to forward, then attack. And I'll go ahead and actually equip a weapon that has an attack so that you can kind of see that. So it's down to forward, then attack. And then you'll get the abilities. This holds the same for all of your spells. If you wanted to do Summon Spirit, you would go left, right, up, down, then attack. Not left, right, up, down, and attack. Using this has usually vastly improved people's abilities in order to execute spells consistently, and I highly recommend it to people. But for now, that'll be the end of the basic mechanics tutorial for Alucard, for the any percent or generally for Castlevania Symphony of the Night. I hope to continue this with Richter basic mechanics, and I will cover the Alucard and Richter intermediate mechanics at a later time. But for now, this will be all that I will be covering. This is TurboDog702 for the Castlevania Symphony of the Night tutorial.